All right. Before we get anything with this week, just know that our prayers for Damar Hamlin and his family, for the Bills organization, that our thoughts and prayers are completely with him. Horrific situation that we saw unfold. Grateful for the emergency responders, how everybody responded, getting him the attention that he needed as quickly as possible. But again, obviously from our players' perspective, our staff, and us as an organization, man, our thoughts and prayers are with him in a full recovery and hopefully a speedy recovery. And hopefully we continue to get good news on the way that he's progressing. But that's what we wanted to start with. And from there, we'll just open it up.
Jeff, you've been around a long time, and there's a risk-reward in the NFL with injuries.
Yeah.
Does that sort of drive it home to where the severity that it can happen?
I mean, yeah, I think, listen, I've been around the game a long time. I've never seen anything like that. That's as scary as I've ever seen. And I can't imagine being on the field. I can't imagine the coaching staff, the players, the opposing team, everybody. I mean, you see a lot happen on the field, but something as tragic and devastating as that is not norm. And so I think that shook all of us, our families. And I'm sitting there with my wife and my daughter. They're in tears. I talked to a number of players and their families and significant others, and they were emotional because it drives home the risk every time you walk on that field. And I told the guys this morning how grateful I was to them. Every day they come out and put their health on the line. But again, never expecting something like that. And I think everybody would agree it's such a rarity, but does drive the point home of how real this is and how dangerous this game can be at times. And so again, just lifting this young man up and his full recovery, and his mom and family and friends. We have a number of guys here who are close to him and know him. And so I addressed it with the team this morning. I prayed with the team this morning. Like when I tell you, it is a shaking you to the core event in your life. That is not an overstatement to what we just witnessed.
Jeff, on that Rodney Thomas, there was a report that he went down there and tried to visit him. But
yes.
Is Rodney still down there? How's he doing?
Yeah, Rodney's back. I spoke to him this morning, but yeah, he did go down. I'll let him talk about whatever. But I have yeah, he was down there, very close. Obviously, Rodney is shaken up, which you would fully expect. But he came back, I think, late last night. But he's been here for everything this morning. And again, yeah. But we're surrounded, Rodney, with love. And again, that's a close relationship and one that we don't take lightly. So we're with him as well.
Within this league, people get used to the coldness of it, right? Guys get cut, they're gone. Guys get hurt, they're gone for a year. This is different. As a player, how would you how would these guys try to play a football game on Sunday after what they watched on Monday night?
Yeah, I think as you go through the week, just processing each day, and from a player perspective, getting good news each day probably builds confidence. I don't want to speak to how they feel, but from my own perspective, that's what I would try to do, and just understand how rare that situation is. So you try to compartmentalize it as a player, no different than other injuries, right? Like you constantly go through, every time you go out, you understand the risk of something that could happen. That severity is obviously a rarity, but man, when you see it, and now the process as you go through and prepare through the week, I'm hoping that's what happens, is they begin to compartmentalize, okay, we're going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you try to kind of block out, for lack of a better word, but it is no small feat, and that's what we talked about this morning.
Jeff, I'm sure you've been in games in your career where someone suffered a serious injury, but usually there's always that one moment of like a thumbs up, or he's got movement or something. But
right.
Can you even fathom for the players on the field how they didn't have that moment of like he's okay?
No, I cannot. And again, as we're all watching it unfold, I mean, those are the things you are, and the length and the severity that was obviously happening, and the facial expressions of all the players that were on the field and the staff that was on the field, there was nothing typical about. And like you said, you've seen severe injuries as a football player, no matter what level you're at, and whether it's bones or you've seen some pretty horrific things that you saw on the face. There's nothing typical about this. Isn't we're going to move on. I mean, that was and I think for everybody at home watching, just the realization, oh my word. Like, this young man might lose his life on this field. I mean, that's not, he broke his leg, blew his, that is a whole nother level. And so I cannot imagine. And I can't imagine what we're going through those guys' minds when you love somebody and you've gone through an entire season and you've watched what this young man does, not only on the field, but in his community and the friendships, the camaraderie and the friendships built. I mean, it goes to a whole nother level. And so, no, I can't imagine. And that's why our prayers are with the team as a whole. I mean, those guys getting prepared, that's the focus, right, of how, man, we're lifting them up, that they can do what you're asking me, Zach, of how do you get this out of your mind? I don't know. I mean, I really don't. And we're lifting Sean and that whole organization and the Bengals, man. This is massive. And I appreciate the way that the media has covered this and been, with him and all the prayers, and you're watching the foundation and everything that's happening. Grateful for all of that. But yeah, man, it's a different deal.
Jeff, I mean, regarding your team and even your time as a player, what is it? This is unprecedented, right? But
yes.
What is it about NFL players? What quality is it that allows them to go out after seeing the kinds of things you're talking about, some of the things you saw, and do it again and again, the next play, the next game, and so forth?
Yeah, I think there's a quality, of just the ability to turn off the worry or the concern for your health, right? There's something about that guys can do, and that's every week, right? Guys they're banged up, whether it's their knee, their foot, their neck, or they can't feel their hands, right? You got all kinds of things that guys, and just the ability to try to block that portion out and go do your job and get singularly focused on that. Again, it is a rare quality that few people possess. The NFL players do, and that's again, I don't minimize it. I respect the heck out of it. I've told these guys, I tell them every time, man, I respect the heck out of it. Every time you get out of that car and you come in here, it's a big deal, and I appreciate it. But I do think that trait is one that you see.
Jeff, as you get ready for this game on Sunday, the final game, what do you hope to see from your team coming up against the Texans?
Yeah, intensity, right? Understanding that we have an opportunity to finish, and I made mention of this, AC, this morning, is the difference when you finish with a win as opposed to finishing with a loss, and what that does, irrespective of your season, just the idea as you move forward to the off season and to getting prepared, how far that really goes, and so trying to encourage those guys, man, playing with intensity, finishing strong, another opportunity to go out there and play with your brothers, because again, whether you finish hoisting a trophy or finish the way we're finishing, teams change, and a large amount of people go different places, and so you have one more opportunity. Let's not waste it. Let's take it, the full advantage of it, and go play our best ball and play to the potential that our team can play to.
You talking about things changing, and they changed in a couple of days. Is Sam and Matt still quarterback?
Yes.
Sam starting and Matt back in?
Yes.
Jeff, to your point about injuries, and I guess on a lower level, the Damar thing is obviously very unique, but do you think that, I guess, the general public, this is a moment for us to kind of not appreciate, but understand, like, just what you all put your bodies through to play this game? And maybe we look at, again, also, I want to write a great story about what the game is giving you and what the game can sometimes take away.
Right. I think it's hard if you've never done it. I think it's hard to put yourself in that frame of mind. I always appreciate when people, the language they use, right? I never had a problem with somebody criticizing me with what I'm doing on the field or what players are doing. When you begin to question people's toughness or mentality or the words that people can often use to diminish what they're doing as opposed to just critiquing what the action is on the field is a big deal to me. Listen, you have to be fully freaking grown to walk out there and do what you do. Whatever the results are, you can write about that all, but I hope that people find appreciation in what people are willing to risk to do this, right? And I don't fault people for the way that they view the game. It is entertainment, and we are fortunate to have opportunities to play, right? But hopefully people will reduce the language that they use about guys when they understand really what is at risk. And maybe that's one of the things that we take from such an awful situation as this of, hey, how we talk about people, how we write about people. It's just, we focus on the field and stay away from the person or what you think about them that way.
Jeff, you said you were gonna talk to the offensive line about the Thibodeau thing. Did you, and what was your message to him?
I did, and that's just between us.
But again, as you watch it, something should have been done.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that, Chad. Thanks.
Jeff, any thought to playing more younger guys? You know, I realize you've been eliminated from the playoffs now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is there any thought to that this late in the season?
Well, I think part of that has been because of guys being banged up, even with Jan leaving, Friday after practice and us not knowing. You bring two guys in that are, new, haven't had any experience, and you play in them. So I think, honestly, we've had a lot of guys on the defensive backfield who've had to rotate and play a lot of reps because of injuries or usage. And so I think it's taken care of itself. We've gotten a lot of young guys, a lot of playing time and things that they can build and bank experiences on for the future.